Pastor Andy, Shepherd's Light Ministry. How are y'all doing? I want to say today, Thursday, March 13th, is the day of Purim. Purim. I hope I said that right. I could have said it wrong. Oh, anyways. It's a Jewish holiday, and it is spelled Purim. Purim. And I'm going to explain this to you a little bit because it's in the book of Esther, which is an amazing book. And the Jews actually read the book of Esther. They still celebrate this day, and they read the book of Esther, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Daniel the next 2 days, so the 13th and the 14th, which is great to read those 4 books. They're all amazing. Nehemiah is a great book on leadership, and Ezra kind of piggybacks on Nehemiah. They coincide together. And then Esther is Esther's story, but the genealogy of them are in the other 2 books. And then Daniel, of course, is the prophet, and we'll go into... I'll just stop because that wasn't even where I was going with this video. But the book of Esther is a really good book anyways, and I'm not going to go into the whole book because the book actually has a little bit more of a beginning. We're going to focus on Esther because the king that's in here, King Xerxes, actually had a wife before Queen Esther. Or a queen, I should say. So there's a queen before Queen Esther. Sorry, I had to take a drink. But anyways, there's another queen. We won't go into that whole story. The only thing I'll tell you is she was killed, and she was killed because she didn't follow the king's rules, which Queen Esther ends up doing in a similar way. We're going to touch on that, but I'm not going to read to you what she actually did. So, Queen Esther was chosen by the king Xerxes for her beauty. She was very beautiful, and so after the old queen, they brought all these others in that were, virgins, and they did is they beautified them, and they had to get approval, and he picked which one would be the main queen, and the other one stayed there, but she's the queen. I know it's a big... Just read it and figure that out. But anyways, they actually told her, if you really study and really look into the Bible, into this story, there's so much. It's just amazing. I could do like a 5-hour video probably just on this book of the Bible. So she got all beautified, and she actually listened to those in there helping her how to do it, and that's probably what gave her favor. But she also found favor. Remember, she's from the Jewish inheritance, which the Jews always have it. As Jews, they have a inheritance anyways, because they are God's chosen people. So King Xerxes chose her for her beauty, and she was of the Jewish nationality, but she did not indulge this information when she was chosen. Like King Xerxes or anyone that worked for him, they had no idea that she was part of the Jewish nationality. So she was raised by her cousin Mordecai. This is very important. So her cousin raised her. There was a man, Haman, that he actually worked for. He was in the castle, and I'm not reading this because it is very long. So I'm trying to summarize it the best I can without going too far into teaching. But Haman actually was like the next, we'll say he was like the next in command, and he had a signet ring, and a signet ring actually was a ring that it's kind of like, so when the president does a document, he puts that stamp on it, and it's like sealed, that's what it was, but it was a ring, and they would stick it and like seal the document, and that would say, hey, this is official. And when they said it was official, like there was no comebacks, like it was official. So Haman, who had a seat with honor with the king, did not like Queen Esther's cousin Mordecai, and he was up there like the next go-to person, and because he would not kneel, and the whole reason he did not like him is because he was following his Jewish tradition not to bow to anybody else but God. and he would not bow to Haman because it was against his religion. Now, how many of us can relate to this today? That there's so many people that don't accept our beliefs, our religion, and they're like, no, you can't do that. I mean, look at the backlash that people get that don't want to get their kids vaccinated because it's not part of their religion, or they don't want to send their kids to school anymore. They want homeschooling because of this. Like, look at how much like stuff that people get, or when people go to other countries and they literally get their heads cut off just because they don't believe in our religion or their religion, and it's usually the Christian, so I'm just gonna say our. So this is what he was experiencing was religious persecution, and he's like he didn't like him for it. So Mordecai, because he would not kneel for him, and when he walked through the gates due to his religious beliefs, he bribes King Xerxes. Because of this, King Xerxes declared with his signet ring, that Mordecai and all his nationality would be killed. And he hated this man, because Mordecai hated this man, and he carried so much anger and bitterness. Now wait. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm coughing today. I kind of do, but we won't go there. But, so, just a little refresher. Queen Esther. Who is Queen Esther? She is this Mordecai's niece, which means she is of the same Jewish heritage that he's from, right? And so this guy, wants to take out the queen, basically. And the king has no idea that the queen would have to be abolished and her whole entire family. And he just is so in love with her beauty. And she'd be gone. So Mordecai caught word of this, and he told the queen, he sent an SOS, hey queen, listen up. This is what they're trying to kill us, and you need to be aware of what's going on. So as the queen, what did she do? So the queen was told about the plan, right? She was she caught wind of this, to take out her whole entire family. So she fasted and prayed, and she encouraged everybody to fast and pray in the Jewish community. She called a 3-day fast, right? So important. Fasting and praying. What happens? We get results when we fast and pray, right? We gotta go to God. And this is how we truly go to God with our hearts. We're God, I'm giving up physical food to come to a spiritual hunger for you. To say, this is what, please, help me. I need you. She's coming to him with a request. Because yesterday, what did I teach on? Make your request known to him. Give God a job. Right here. She's giving him a job. So they all fasted and prayed for 3 days. And she trusted God through this whole entire process. She was going in faith. Trusting him. During this time, King Xerxes was reminded of something Mordecai did. Which is so ironic. He had somebody reading his Bible to him. He was reminded. And he called Haman in. He's hey, Haman. And Haman's all prideful, right? He's oh. And he comes in, and King Xerxes was he's I was reminded that somebody did something for me, and I need to honor them. I'm not going to go into that whole thing, but he's I want to honor them. And he asked Haman, he's hey, what would you do if somebody did something for you and you found that they needed honored, right? And because they were supposed to honor him, and he was reading back in the books, kind of we'll say it's kind of like a diary, in his books, they kept ledgers of everything they did or whatever. It's probably the king did. So they were going back, and he was reading the history of his walk during the kingship. And that's when he discovered, hey, I never honored that guy. He did something really valuable, and I need to honor him. So, it was Mordecai. And King Haman was thinking it was him. And this is great. The plot just thickens, my mom watched Days of Our Lives when she was growing up. She had no idea if when I was growing up. She would have just read her Bible. There's so much in there. You don't need to be watching no Days of Our Lives. But anyways, we don't even need to watch the Bible. There's enough in here, good stuff. So the plot thickens. These are the best stories ever. And so he was like, he found him in it. So all prideful, right? Haman's like, this is what needs to be done. And he's thinking it's him. So he's saying exactly what he would want to be done. Like, he needs to ride on this horse and like all kinds of stuff, right? And he's really doing this selfishly, thinking that it was him that was going to get honored. Well, little did he know it wasn't. It was his arch enemy. It was actually Mordecai that they were going to honor. So King Xerxes brought Mordecai in. So he was all in, and he was like, this is who I'm going to honor. He's like, thanks for the idea. Well, then it gets better, because Haman had to take him out and honor the man that he hated. Oh my goodness. And then his bitterness and anger like stirred up even more. And it got even more increasing, right? And he went home and told his wife, and his wife's like, just put a pole up and impale him the day that the Jews are supposed to take him out. So he put 3 of them up. And so he put this pole up, right? Well, this is where it gets even better. So during this time, the queen's fasting. This is all unraveling, and Haman is like getting madder, more bitterness, and Mordecai and his family's getting more favor and favor, because this is how God works, man. You come after somebody that God has favor in. It's like coming against the church or coming against a pastor, like you have so much favor in you, and you're coming after God's people, and he's just like giving more favor, and he's just like, and you just like it just gets so much worse for the person that's hating on you, and you're just pouring into God more, and you're like reading your word, and you're like praying, and you're like fasting, and you're just, the favors just pouring over and pouring on you and pouring over you, and it's like this, like you have something just pouring it over top of you, and you're just overflowing, right? And it's just, you can't even contain it anymore. There's just like so much that is just coming out, and everybody's getting part of your favor. And so Haman, at this time, like, Haman's so mad, and he puts his pole up, right? And after Queen Esther fasted, she went to the king, and she found favor in him. And you don't go to the king, right? The last queen kind of got taken out because of this. Like, she wouldn't honor the king's, it wasn't exactly the same, but she didn't honor like the way she was supposed to be the queen, so she got taken out. But not Queen Esther, because she fasted and prayed. She found favor. Like, if you ever have a problem and you want to find favor in the Lord, you fast and pray. So she fasted and she prayed, and she found favor. And the king said, I will give you whatever you want. Anything, right? And we hear this a couple times in the Bible, but he's like, I'll give you whatever you want. And she told him, I'll tell you during the banquet. So she already had favor, but like, she still spiced it up a little bit. She gave him a banquet, set him up with a nice dinner. I could see it now, like the centerpieces, flowers all over the place, and they had the best wine and the best food, and he had the best steak, and it was cooked just the way he wanted it, right? Like, she knew exactly what she wanted, and she gave him everything. She already had favor, but she had to make sure the favor was like times 10, right? And she like treated her husband, the king, the best that she could, just like we treat our husbands when we want something. You give him the best. You give him the best of what he wants, and that's what she did, right? So she gave him this huge banquet, and she prepared him. She prepared his heart, just like we should prepare our hearts. Like, Queen Esther already prepared herself. She fasted and she prayed, and God was like, all right, I got you. And she was still listening to all those that knew the king, right? And so this banquet's all, and she even invited the man of the hour, Haman, right? The one that crossed him, her secret arch enemy, that the king has no idea what's going on, right? She's like, come on, you two, you're gonna eat. Come on. So what happened, she invited him, and during the banquet, she told the king what he had done, and she confronted him. Like, the light came to the darkness in front of the king of what his main man was doing. And to his face, she was like, it was you. Like, you're trying to take my family out. And if you take them out, guess what? You got to take me out. And she's like, and I am the queen. And the king's like, oh my goodness. Like, how do you want me to request this? So she's like, take him out. Put him on the pole, the one that he designed for my family, for my cousin, for me. Like he was going to put me on that pole, but no, you put him, and you take his family too. So not only did the king, he was so mad that he declared the queen's request, right? Because he loved the queen. She was beautiful, and he just wanted to honor her. So at the queen's request, he went up and propelled on the own pole, the one that he made for his enemy. Listen, God's so good, he will take you out with the weapons that the enemy had for you. And that's what happened. So Mordecai was given Haman's job, right? Blessed him with his job. Oh my goodness, found favor. His own enemy. All because he was just so much hatred and bitterness. Get the hatred and bitterness out of your life. Take it away. Because it's not just taking you out, it's taking your family out. Because it goes on to a generational curse, but we won't get into that. Just look at this story. It took him and his kids and his whole family were propelled on the pole that he put there for somebody he had so much hatred for. Took him out. Killed him. So someone else comes after you. Seek God, and God's going to find favor on you. And he's not just going to he's going to take them out. He's going to use the weapon that they were using against you to take you out. This is just God works in your favor when you trust him and you seek him. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to come back at that person. You don't have to defend yourself. God does it all for you. And just watch how this is so unfolding. So then he got his job. And when somebody comes after you, seek God and his enemies, and he'll promote you. Praise persecution equals promotion, man. And God did this, and it's so wonderful. And not only was he killed, they used the weapons to kill his family. So this is what day Purim is. This is a day of celebration of the Jews' deliverances. And they were delivered this day, right? And this day is to say thank you for the freedom and always defending his people. And it's a day of celebration. So in this day of celebration, it says that not only the Jews are supposed to, remember, we're from the Jewish descendants. We're an inheritance of the salvation through Abraham, right? Because we were part of that inheritance. So they are part of this because, actually this part I do. Day of Purim should never fail to be celebrated by the Jews, nor should the memory of these days die out. That it should be celebrated by the generations to come. I should have wrote this part and I didn't. Days to be observed by the generations, every family, in every province, in every city should celebrate this. So the Jews still celebrate this. And this is why we're having an all-day day of prayer and fasting. And we're going to celebrate this through prayer and fasting. The Jews today still celebrate it. And they give gifts to the poor. And they give gifts to each other. And they have a big meal and a big feast. And they celebrate it that way. But we're going to do it in fasting and prayer. And today we're praying from 9 to 9. And I hope you can join us today as we pray for this. And celebrate what happened in the deliverance and the victory and what God did. This is such an amazing story. So please read Queen Esther today. And if you're in the area, if you're able to join us at 303 Pearson at Shepherd's Light Ministry in Newcastle, PA for a day of prayer. And we can't wait to see you there. And we'll see you later. We'll talk to you later. Love you guys. Have a great day. And we'll see you sometime today.